Chapter 49 Ready Up. Ryan would be happy if he never saw another bowl of oats again. It was the morning after they'd released the video, and they were preparing to make their move to wherever Jeff and Lindsay had decided their new base of operations was going to be. Gavin had been glued to the laptop screen since they decided the technology ban wasn't going to help them anymore, and now that they were all busy readying up for the move, he'd left Weasel News running in the background. Ryan couldn't help but notice how truly god-awful the sensationalism was. Even the most mundane news was overhyped and oversold, each story trying to top the last in shock value. Wait till they get a load of us, he thought somewhat smugly. They'd all been keeping an ear out, listening for any news of their video, which, despite being repeatedly removed, had been shared and re-uploaded and had progressively gained views on all platforms it had spread to, much to Gavin's delight. The fakes were about to be real big news again. Ryan, Michael, Jeremy, and Gavin were in the main room, checking and repacking some of the arsenal that Funhouse had dropped off to be used in case of raids, which they were now appropriating for their own purposes, while Jeff and Jack were organizing the vehicles. Ryan passed a grenade to Michael as the reporters nattered on about some celebrity scandal, the rise of tattoo culture on Vespucci Beach, and the latest crystal meth-fueled rampage where a man was arrested after speeding down the Palomino freeway in a stolen convertible while blasting Kenny Loggins. Ryan chuckled to himself at the last one before he was abruptly snapped out of it by the urgent announcement tone of, "Breaking news! Fake AH crew release ominous video declaring war on Los Santos." Gavin darted to the door to yell out, "Jeff! Jack! News!" Michael and Ryan grabbed the laptop, and they all gathered around it, turning up the volume. Residents are being urged to stay inside as the LSPD consider issuing a curfew following an alarming video that went viral overnight. The video is believed to have been released by the fake AH crew, one of the most dangerous gangs in Los Santos. We do have a clip of the video to show. A warning, though. The following footage contains graphic images. Jack and Jeff came in just as a clip of their video flashed on the screen. Despite the warning, it was still heavily censored. Ryan filled them in as they watched the clip. LSPD are considering a curfew. No details yet. The report went on. The video, which has gained more than 1 million views, hints at corruption within several law enforcement agencies and warns of an impending, large-scale gang war on the streets of Los Santos. Representatives of the FIB and LSPD continue to decline to be interviewed for a statement. Surprise, surprise, Jack muttered. For those concerned about their safety, the LSPD have assured the public that there will be an increased presence of police and armed forces on the ground in high-risk and targeted areas, and, in an unprecedented move, Mayor Hullum has ordered a close of the downtown business district and evacuation of the area from La Puerta Freeway, stretching east to Strawberry Avenue, following close of business today. We'll be staying with this story. Stay tuned for more details as they come in. Holy shit. They must know we're going to hit the bureau, Michael mused, turning back to the others. That's okay, Jeff assured them. They're still not going to see us coming. In the background, the news went on to report something that Ryan swore was about erectile dysfunction, but he was no longer paying attention. Jeremy scoffed. How are they not going to see us coming? They're going to have the whole suburb on lockdown. Guaranteed there's going to be riot control along the entire perimeter. We're not going to be able to get within 2 blocks of it. A sly grin tugged at the corner of Jeff's lips. Remember how Lindsay said she had a few safe houses we didn't know about? The others looked around at each other, then back to Jeff as if to say, and? Jeff's grin widened. On the corner of Alta Street and Integrity Way is the Tinkle Building. Lindsay and Steffi procured the top-floor penthouse, only 1 block away from the FIB building. That's where we're going to be. Gavin let out a half-stifled nasal laugh. This is ridiculous. Total lunacy. Ryan smirked, quietly impressed. Well, I like it. Good. But there's one more thing we need to take care of. What's that, Jeff? Jack asked in earnest. We need to rebuild the weapons cache. This is a good start, but it's not enough. Almost everything we had was taken out when they hit the safe houses. All the warehouses went up too. Well, except Ryan's secret one. And I said the attack boys could have whatever they found in there. provided they helped us. Ryan scowled as he recalled the attack boys still had his Valkyrie. Jeff went on, "So we're gonna need to beg, borrow, and steal, and we're gonna need to get creative." "I can do that," Ryan said with a smirk and a nod. "I don't doubt that," Jack muttered. The lads grinned like idiots. "I do have a plan. It's a risky one," Jeff started. "When is it not?" Michael interjected. Jeff ignored him. "But if we get some of the others involved, we might be able to pull it off and kill two birds with one stone." "What's the job, Jeff?" Gavin asked, eyes lighting up. The energy was back up, and suddenly it became painfully clear how much being stagnant had affected them. "Got a tip-off that the FIB is getting a delivery of weapons to the building. Help to arm riot control. 6 armored trucks worth, coming in from Noose headquarters. Gonna make the run today, before the lockdown," Jeff explained. "Now, these guys are gonna be armed to the teeth. They have access to huge quantities of heavy weaponry. He stumbled over the word several times before it came out right. "And we need to make sure either we get them or no one does. So, what we need to do is get those trucks." "I'm down for that. A little pre-heist heisting," Jeremy grinned. Ryan raised an eyebrow. "Where'd the tip-off come from?" Jeff hesitated for a moment before looking around the room as if mentally making the decision to come clean with them. "Lindsay, Trevor, and Mika have been working on getting the media on side, getting in contact with the people involved in the original corruption investigations that Bernie started when he was the mayor. Turns out there are some familiar faces at Weasel nowadays. Caden's moving up the ranks, and she's made a few friends who have some extremely valuable connections." "I thought Caden was out," Gavin noted. "Caden is out, but she still wants to help," Jeff explained. "I'm not going to drag her back into anything she doesn't want to be involved in, but she's been keeping us in the know for quite some time now, and she's been really pushing to get our stuff out there, both in the media and through less reputable outlets." "Wait, back up." Jeremy looked confused. "You said Bernie. Like Bernie Burns?" "Yeah. He was mayor of Los Santos. Pretty popular with the people because he swore to investigate the corruption in the LSPD. Ryan explained patiently, remembering that Jeremy may not have even been in Los Santos when it all went down. "And he did. Of course, you go sticking your nose in the LSPD's business, and you're gonna get shot at. Not very well, mind you. They can't shoot for shit. They tried to take him out on a few different occasions, but it didn't stop him from following the trail all the way to Haines." "That's Shadle's uncle, right?" Jeremy followed on. "Yeah. Well, after that, it wasn't entirely unreasonable for Burns to step down. Then he straight up disappeared." Jeff nodded thoughtfully. Ryan continued. "Hullum had some big shoes to fill, but he also wanted to live longer than the election campaign, so he kept his head down. Don't get me wrong, the LSPD were still corrupt as fuck, but things aren't as bad as they were. Well, they weren't until this whole randoms nonsense." Michael giggled and exaggeratedly mimicked his nonsense. Ryan shook his head at him. "So who exactly are these contacts, Jeff? And how do we know we can trust them?" Michael asked, starting to move back to inspecting the packet and packing weapons, Ryan following suit. "Okay, so Caden's one, but we also have Ashley Jenkins. She got involved in the original corruption investigations as an investigative journalist. She was the first to get anything solid on Haines, and that started the internal investigations. There's also Gus. Wait, Gus Sorolla?" Jack asked, ears pricking up. "Yeah," Jeff nodded. "Honestly, I thought he was dead. But nope, just laying low. Probably same as Burns. Wouldn't surprise me if they were in on it together. He's still with the IAA, although I doubt officially, and we all know the IAA and the FIB hate each other's guts. They clearly have beef with the FIB pulling this bullshit, but they don't want to be associated with it any more than the mayor does." "Wait, Hullum's not in on this?" Jeremy asked. "You sure?" Hullum's always been on side with Burns. Well, in matters like this. The FIB have been trying to go over his head for years. He's never approved any of this shit, and this whole randoms recruitment scheme is their way of getting around it and into the LSPD. He has a few good men in the LSPD, but most of them are on the take and following the FIB's lead on this. And you learned all this last night? Ryan looked at him skeptically. Jeff winced. Ryan, look, for now, that's really all I can say. Just trust me on this, please. Ryan was instinctively disinclined to trust him. Part of him wanted to press for information, to get the full story, and that same part of him felt he deserved it. But then, after all they'd been through, if Jeff was keeping things from them, it was in all likelihood for a very good reason. For us. He nodded and moved on. Okay, so what about these trucks? Jeff's eyes lit up and everyone's attention was back on him. So, the plan is, we got multiple trucks. We're splitting them between us, Funhouse, Cow Chop, Kinda Funny, and the Attack Boys. If we can't take the trucks, the next goal is to destroy the trucks. We're gonna hit them as soon as they leave Noose headquarters, before they get into the city, and get them out to Funhouse's other location, Donkey Punch Family Farms. Jack rolled his eyes. Never suspected that would be a front. That's on the other side of Chiliad, Gavin whined. Exactly. Lead them away from the city. The Attack Boys are gonna be in the Valkyrie to make sure we're not followed, and then we unload the weapons, swap out vehicles, and go our separate ways. We get them back into the city in unmarked vans and back to the garage of the Tinkle building. No one's the wiser. If we time it right, we can be done before the evacuation and lockdown, and we're all safely inside the perimeter. When are the trucks leaving, Jeff? Jack asked, raising an eyebrow and glancing at his watch. Should be in a few hours. Ryan's eyes narrowed. So, we should ready up? Jeff nodded. Ready up. The man flashed his work pass at security at the entrance of the FIB building. Security was on high alert, but the janitorial staff were all contracted out, and few bothered to get to know them by name, so it was easy enough to slip in unsuspecting. The pass was genuine. His identity, however, was not. He wasn't concerned. He was here to do a job. He took his mop and bucket and rode the elevator to the 49th floor. He dutifully mopped the linoleum floors while distracted FIB agents avoided eye contact and the wet patches on the floor. When the activity died down, he casually picked up the bucket and made his way to the bathrooms, checking to make sure he was alone before carefully securing the device to the cistern of one of the toilets. He checked to make sure the signal from the transmitter was being received, washed his hands, and quickly made his way out. Only once he was clear of the building did he take out his phone and dial a number from memory. The package is in position. Let your guys know when they want in. They just have to ring the doorbell. The voice on the other end of the phone sighed. You're really taking this whole espionage thing seriously, aren't you, Chris? Guys, I got eyes, Bolin radioed from the chopper overhead. They're leaving Noose headquarters now, heading down Sustancia Road. You guys called it. Looks like they're avoiding the main freeway. 6 trucks. They're using police riot to transport, and they have escorts. 4 cruisers, 2 at the front and 2 in the rear. A few giggles could be heard over the radio, and for a brief moment it was easy to forget they were Los Santos' most feared gang members and think they were children. Frankly, they wouldn't want it any other way. Perfect, Lawrence radioed back. They brought their own blockade. Ryan could practically hear the grin on his face as he said it. To be fair, he was thinking the same thing. They'd looped around through Los Santos to intercept the convoy head-on on either the Palomino Freeway or the alternate, less populated route down Sustancia Road before the trucks made it to the city, where they'd have LSPD and FIB backup ready. Ryan was relieved it was the latter. There was far less chance of traffic and civilians getting in the way. It was also further from aerial support, with the exception of the Maverick choppers the Noose kept at their headquarters, but that's what the Valkyrie was for. Funhouse would be targeting the front 2 trucks, and the fakes had the rear 2, with Kinda Funny and Cow Chop targeting the ones in between. A well-placed proximity mine on the road ahead would do the trick. The escort cars would create a wreckage, blocking in the others in the convoy, and if they could avoid the carnage, the fakes could blow past them to hit the other two escort cruisers from behind and totally block them in. You guys got proximity mines? Ryan asked over the comms. Do we? Adam replied, the glee in his voice audible. Ryan laughed. Great. Well, just let me know if you need more. I got plenty. Next to him in the back seat of Jack's car, Michael rolled his eyes at him. Of course you do. You're a real piece of shit with them, too. Ryan switched off the mic on his comms and grinned back at him. You're just mad that I nearly blew you up that one time. That one time, Ryan? More like dozens. Where the hell do you get them all from anyways? Ryan shrugged. I make 'em. Hobby, you know? Holy shit, Ryan. Jack must have overheard them. You're really fucking creepy sometimes. You know that, right? Michael let out a slightly hysterical giggle. How is that creepy? Ryan defended, legitimately confused. It's practical, is what it is. Sure, Ryan. The rotors of his Valkyrie beat loudly overhead, and he stuck his head out the window to catch a glimpse of it zipping off, letting out a sigh as he wondered if he'd ever get to pilot it himself. Following in the car behind them, Ryan could just make out Jeff at the wheel of the silver Cheval fugitive, with Jeremy and Gavin in the back seat, in much the same setup as they had with Jack, although Jack had been too slow to call dibs on the silver one, and they were stuck with the fugitive with the white paint job. Between Jeremy and Gavin, there would be a duffel bag of weapons, including bullpup rifles and a handful of explosives in case they needed them, which it was now apparent they would. Between himself and Michael, they had a similar stash, albeit with more explosives. We're going to have to hit the rear cruisers on the fly, Jack announced, switching his mic to the internal channel that could only be heard by the fakes. Do you think you guys can do that? Ryan nodded. Shouldn't be too hard. Michael's grin was ear to ear. Gavin's voice came over the comms at the same time, and almost in unison they said, Absolutely. They promptly broke out in laughter. Okay, my motherfuckers, we don't have long, so listen up, Jeff announced as soon as they fell silent again. Michael giggled and quietly repeated, My motherfuckers. You're with me now, so you're mine. Now listen up, Jeff huffed. I don't want to see any heroics from any of you. Ryan imagined he'd be throwing a look to Jeremy and Gavin in the rearview mirror, about the same way Jack was doing to him and Michael, he noted as he glanced up. We need everyone in one piece for tomorrow, so if anything seems off, looks wrong or suspicious, we back the fuck off. We can blow the trucks if we have to, and if we really fuck it up, our priority is to get the fuck out and leave it to the others to clean up. Come on, Jeff, we're not that dumb, Jeremy started in their defense, but Jeff quickly cut him off. Every single one of you motherfuckers has done something stupid trying to be a hero. So I don't want to hear it. I want to hear that you're not going to do anything to get yourselves killed. Okay, Jeff. To everyone's surprise, it was Ryan who was the first to respond. One by one, the others agreed. Good, Jeff said. I feel marginally better. Jeff opened his mic channel back to the whole group. I hope everyone's ready for this. A chorus of voices responded in the affirmative with varying degrees of enthusiasm. The Cowchop crew managed to peak all their mics in a seemingly coordinated attempt to make everyone's ears bleed. Jesus, well, I'm going to take that as a yes. Bolin, call it. How far off? Sean's voice from the Valkyrie called back through static. Maybe 500 feet up the road, just past the oil plant ahead of you. That's where you want to drop the mines. Funhouse, start falling back there, and Fakes, you need to pass the whole convoy and sweep the stragglers. Get those last cruiser escorts and block them in. The others just fill in the gaps. Everyone clear? Jeff called to confirm. Again, everyone indicated in the affirmative. Ryan, would you care to do the honors? I would be delighted, Jeff. Ryan threw a handful of proximity mines out the window in the approximate center of the road as they passed their mark. Looking back, he watched the bizarre collection of vehicles following them swerve and start to fall away, carefully avoiding his mines to either side of the road. Thankfully, they hadn't passed a single other car on the road. Ryan could see the first of the convoy approaching them, and Jack accelerated to pass them. Gotta work fast up here, Jack warned them. Michael, Ryan, be ready. And Jeremy and Gavin, you guys be ready to sweep if they miss. We won't miss, Ryan assured him. A few seconds later, the boom of the first explosion told Ryan his proximity mines were a success. the distant sound of metal twisting against metal, followed by a second detonation. Screeching brakes and a dull, heavy thud let them know that the plan was in full effect. The effect in Ryan's brain was like flipping a switch. All the nervous, anxious energy faded away into focus. His attention turned solely to the task at hand, to their trucks and his crew. Everything else was secondary. This is gonna be fun. No, well, yes, but that's not the point. Everyone's gotta die sometime. Yeah, but not today. That nervous energy was back. Ryan absent-mindedly touched the hilt of the knife at his hip. They passed the fourth truck, then the fifth. The drivers had already seen the wreck ahead and were slowing down, looking for a way to avoid it. Behind the final truck, the cruiser's tires were squealing and smoking as they tried to fall back to offer some support. Jack accelerated to get around behind them, and Michael wasted no time, throwing the explosives he had at the ready, scoring a direct hit on the first cruiser, its engine exploding sympathetically as the entire car was engulfed in flames, and the officers inside attempted to throw the doors open and roll from the vehicle. Jack sped up again to get them within range of the second escort cruiser, while Jeremy and Gavin cleaned up the mess, hanging out the windows of Jeff's fugitive and shooting anything that moved away from the flaming cruiser. Ryan had hesitated. He cursed himself for it, but he knew he could count on Michael. The second cruiser had managed to turn around and was attempting to retreat. This time Ryan had the explosives at the ready, and he didn't hesitate. He missed. He underestimated the distance, the proximity mine landing on the road just behind the cruiser, not enough to detonate, but right in their own path. Whoops! Ryan! Jack threw a hard turn, fishtailing to avoid the explosive package. God damn it, Ryan! Michael yelled. Ryan's trying to fuck us, Jack confirmed to the others. They're getting away. No, they're not. Ryan threw another explosive device, this time more carefully aimed, and it hit the rear wheel well of the cruiser, detonating on impact and sending the car careening sideways before coming to an abrupt stop against the large rock. Watch out for the mine Ryan left, Jack warned Jeff. Oh, don't worry, I see it, Jeff replied. The silver fugitive pulled up close to the last truck, just as the agent in the passenger seat threw his door open, gun at the ready, already shooting as he came out. Gavin shot a few rounds in his general direction before Jeremy moved in, strategically shooting at his kneecap, causing him to crumple to the ground. Gavin finished him off as Jeremy went for the driver, who was struggling with his seatbelt that had gotten tangled up in his shoulder holster. It was almost sad. He made it quick. Hey, we have ourselves a truck, Jeremy declared gleefully, hauling the body out and climbing into the driver's seat. Jack drove around to the fifth truck, which was trying to turn around to find an exit route, but had been pretty successfully blocked in. Ryan and Michael jumped out of the car with their rifles at the ready. The driver seemed to recognize their predicament. There was no way for them to get out, either up ahead or behind them. The road was blocked until they moved the trucks out themselves. Instead, they simply sat there. It took Ryan a moment to put it together. Fuck, we should have thought of that. What are they doing? Jeff asked over the comms. Waiting, Ryan explained. Probably for backup. Michael followed his logic and shot a few rounds at the driver's window. The driver flinched, but the window was unbroken. In frustration, he loosed a few more rounds. We can't get in. The damn things are armored. And the tires? Jack asked plainly. Good point. Ryan shot at one of the tires and the truck listed sideways. Nope. Jeff hummed thoughtfully. Well, at least they're not going anywhere. We're never going to be able to get in, Michael said. These damn things are impenetrable. All they have to do is sit there, unless someone's got a spare jaws of life in their trunk. Ryan looked up and noted a few of the other trucks ahead of them had similar ideas, and they were sitting, waiting, safe behind their armored and bulletproof vehicles. Shit, Jeff? Yeah, I see, Jeff thought for a moment, clearly surveying the scene. Okay, everyone without a truck, new plan, Jeff yelled into the comms, opening up his mic to all channels. Forget the trucks. If you can, pop the back doors and get the weapons. Destroy anything you can't carry. We're still heading back to Donkey Punch, but whatever you're currently driving is your getaway vehicle now. Still better than a bike, Jeremy muttered. Michael and Ryan popped the back of the police riot truck with little fuss and loaded Jack and Jeff's fugitives with the stolen weapons, a veritable arsenal now filling the trunks and back seats. while Gavin and Jeremy jumped out of their truck and kept their rifles trained on the agents in the cab, who were now actively radioing back to base about what was happening. They wouldn't have long before Noose backup would be on their way. Ryan took the lead to radio the groups. "We're going to want to cut our losses pretty soon. We're going to have company any minute now. Below what you can't carry, and then we need to get the fuck out of here." "Way ahead of you." Funhouse had already successfully taken both their trucks and headed back to Los Santos, where they'd double back on the Palomino Freeway and head north towards Donkey Punch Farms. Cow Chop and Kind of Funny were right on their heels, although neither had managed to get the trucks out intact. Cow Chop hadn't been able to get into their truck at all, and had resorted to loading it up with explosives and blowing the lot. In their wake was flaming wreckage. "Scatter," Ryan instructed. "If you've got nothing to take back and somewhere to hide out and change vehicle, do it. Anything to take the heat off the hull." "Good call, Ryan," Bruce confirmed. "You guys heard him." Jeff nodded at him, looking pleased. "Don't forget, no one dies today. You assholes save that for tomorrow at the earliest." Ryan peppered the truck with explosives and jumped in the passenger seat of Jeff's car, while Michael got back in with Jack, and Jeremy and Gavin took the truck. The truck wouldn't be able to pass the wreckage Cow Chop had left to head back toward Los Santos. "That could be a problem," Jeremy pointed out. Jeff shook his head. "It's faster to head back up Sustancia Road and join up with the freeway." "That takes us right past Noose," Jack warned them. "What happened to no one dies today?" "Trust me," Jeff assured him. "It'll at least confuse them and take some of the heat off the others. We can deal with it." He opened up the channels again. "Craig, Sean, you guys still around?" "We're right above you," Bowen radioed back. "Got eyes on a couple of helicopters mobilizing from Noose headquarters. A few ground units gonna be headed your way soon, too. Looks like 3 cruisers so far." Ryan nodded. If they could hit the freeway before they sent too many more units after them, and the attack boys could keep the choppers off their tail, they'd have a good chance of evading them. "One apiece. I think we can manage that." Michael mirrored his own thinking. Jack and Michael led the way, followed by Jeremy and Gavin in the truck, and Jeff and Ryan pulled up the rear. Ryan couldn't afford to miss again. He promised himself he wouldn't let the pressure get to him. He knew he couldn't really afford to. If he went, Jeff was likely to follow. He'd seen Jeff crumple under pressure before, and it wasn't pretty. If Jeff panicked, it made the others nervous. It was rare for Ryan to be so conscious of his own thinking at a time like this. Ordinarily, he'd go into a kind of autopilot mode, letting his instinct and experience and muscle memory guide him, but he couldn't afford to be reckless. Not now. "All right, we've got incoming," Jack called out. He was closely followed by the sound of the Valkyrie's cannon firing and an explosion ahead of them, but Ryan couldn't see around the truck. "Jesus Christ, what the hell was that?" Michael exclaimed. "Oh man, that thing is fun!" Craig's voice came over the comms. Of course, the Valkyrie had some impressive weaponry of its own. Michael was clearly impressed. "Dude, that thing is badass." "Thanks for letting us borrow it, Ryan." Ryan grumbled exaggeratedly. Letting and borrow are 2 very loose terms. "Gonna take care of the others?" Jack asked as the other cruisers approached. "I got this one." Michael must have thrown explosives because, although Ryan couldn't see what happened, he certainly heard it. The ensuing maniacal combined giggles of the lads confirmed it. The 3rd cruiser ran itself off the road, and the convoy flew past it. Ryan threw a proximity mine out the window as they passed, landing it square on the hood of the car and leaving an inferno behind them as they made for the freeway. As soon as they passed Noose headquarters, Ryan started laying down proximity mines all over the road behind them. Not a chance they were getting any vehicles out of there in a hurry. They seemed to be getting away without too much trouble. None of them could believe they'd pulled it off. Overhead, 2 Maverick helicopters had been deployed, presumably to track them. It surprised everyone when they made a coordinated run at the Valkyrie. Sean and Craig were caught off guard. Craig switched from the cannons, which were better at targeting ground objectives, to the mounted guns, which had more range and could follow the choppers as they sliced through the air toward them. "Shit, shit, shit, shit," Craig repeated over and over as he unleashed on the choppers. He caught the tail rotor of the closest one, and it started to waver, the pilot fighting the uneven forces and trying to keep it under control, but rapidly descending and falling away from them. Craig kept firing at the other, and it returned fire in kind. Sean at least had the sense to start heading out towards Blaine County, away from both the city and the rendezvous point where the others were heading to. If Ryan recalled correctly, one of them had mentioned Chad had a place they could lay low somewhere around Sandy Shores. "You boys have parachutes, right?" Jeff asked, the concern in his voice evident and genuine. "You bet your ass we do," Sean confirmed. "Jump if you have to," Jeff instructed. "Cut and run if you think they're going to get a hit on you." There was more gunfire, followed by a beeping noise over the comms, a scuffle, and a curt "Welp" before the comms cut out. "Shit!" Ryan stuck his head out the window of the fugitive and saw the second Maverick in a tailspin and two figures falling away from the Valkyrie, which was smoking and rapidly falling out of the sky. He watched the figures as they fell, unsure if they were alive or even conscious, buffeted by the wind as they were, but then suddenly parachutes deployed. "They're okay." Ryan let out a long breath. "They jumped. They're okay." The second Maverick plummeted to earth and exploded, followed by Ryan's former Valkyrie. Ryan made a noise that might have been classified as a whine as he watched it hit the ground. "Ryan? Was that you that made that noise?" Jeremy asked from the truck ahead. Ryan sighed. "Yeah, I never even got to fly it." Jeff started quietly giggling next to him. "You know, that would have come in really handy for tomorrow." Ryan glared. Jeff's laughter got louder. "You suck, Jeff," Ryan said flatly, folding his arms across his chest in mock sulk. Jeff burst out laughing. "It was almost worth it just for that." Jeff's laughter set off the others in the crew. "That was a successful heist," Gavin noted. "I almost can't believe we got away with that." "I actually can't believe we got away with that," Jeremy said with a giggle. "And no one died," Jack pointed out. "Well, not yet anyway," Michael added. "Good," Jeff said. "Let's try to keep it that way." As they pulled into Donkey Punch Family Farms, still disbelieving of the name, they saw that the others had already arrived and were unpacking and sorting the stolen weapons. It was a very impressive haul and a good start. They added their bounty to the cash and got to work helping the others. The old adage, "many hands make light work," seemed to ring true, or maybe it was just the adrenaline anticipation of what was to come, but they worked quickly and with an easy buzzing energy of coming down from a heist, so it took them almost no time to unpack, sort, and redistribute their takings. When they were done, Jeff addressed them all as a group. "We're going to be arming the populace at strategic locations throughout the city. You've all been given instructions from Lindsay, Trevor, or myself. Tomorrow it all kicks off, so head back to Los Santos, keep your heads down, deal with this, then rest up. You're gonna need it. Good luck."